Well, let's continue with our program. Just coming up to 17 minutes to 9 here on SAfm, South Africa's news and information leader. Remember that there is going to be the law report with Karen Key coming from Cape Town. But in the studio with us, we have Lucy Leroux, marketing manager for office design firm Paragon Interiors. Why do we have her here today? According to Occupational Care South Africa, which is OCSA, as well as Statistics South Africa, employee absenteeism costs the South African economy, wait for it, between 12 to 16 billion rands annually. How can business understand, monitor, and actively intervene? Lucy, good evening to you and thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's frightening figures that we are looking here, but you did conduct a study to arrive at this figure.
Well, the figures actually are from Occupational Care South Africa, but we do a lot of research internationally, just looking at how satisfied people are with their workplaces and how much they actually want to come to work. And we see that a lot of people actually don't want to be at work. Research from Europe shows that around 55% of people are not feeling like they can be productive at the office. Also in America, around 75% of corporate office workers feel like they're actually not working in optimal environments. And even at home in South Africa, we've got the Discovery Healthy Company Index, which shows that basically around 43% of South Africans are finding their physical work environment a major source of stress. So that's your temperature, your noise in the office, all those sort of things.
Well, let's talk about, you just spoke about the physical work space where they are working. So there is correlation between the physical work and the absenteeism.
Yes, definitely. I mean, if you don't enjoy going to work every day, I mean, you often hear people talking about Monday blues, that they start getting it around 4:30 on a Sunday. Usually carte blanche music sets it off because you know Monday's work time. And so if a workplace for you is something that you actually dread in terms of where you need to go every day, then, you know, a sniffle or any excuse to really get off work, you'll take that opportunity because you're actually finding work a drag versus a pleasure or enjoying what you do.
Do you think that employers are aware of what causes this high absenteeism and the impact it has on their businesses?
I think it depends on the employer. Some employers are more aware than others, so they'll be a lot more concerned about their employees' well-being. Other employers might be more focused on really the bottom line, so they're just maybe crunching numbers and not necessarily thinking about the softer people sides. But it's definitely, I mean, some absenteeism is being caused by illness, but research from OCSA actually shows that around 40% of doctor's notes don't have a diagnosis. So people are getting the doctors to write a note, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they really were ill.
40%, is that a national average, or does it happen globally?
Well, I did look at research from the States, actually, and they actually found similar figures, around 40% of Americans as well, actually, you know, off work and not actually sick. So, yeah, that's quite a scary number if you think of the salary bill of those employees.
It definitely is. But are there particular factors that come into play here? You did mention the physical workplace, but are there particular things, physical that might cause individuals not to enjoy where they are? You know, employers might make it, as comfortable as possible, but people won't enjoy themselves.
Well, I think it's, that it actually comes down to the main thing is that if I feel like you care about me, I'm going to care about you. Research actually shows that the number one factor that drives engagement, which is employees working hard for their companies with their full passion and enthusiasm, is if they believe that senior management is sincerely interested in their well-being. So I think as soon as employees get the sort of message that you're just a number, you're replaceable, you're not special to us, then they stop giving their full effort, and you'll start finding ways to dodge responsibilities. And a big thing also comes down to whether you love what you do. How many people have you met in the last, say, 3 brides that you went to or 3 social occasions where you heard someone say, I love my job, I love my boss, I love my company? I think that person would probably get, laughed at outright. What are you talking about? Are you getting paid commission to tell us a story?
Mm-hmm. Now, how do I know that my employees are not happy and that I need to do something. Do employers know that, given the studies that are available?
Well, I think there's lots of indicators that you can look at. So obviously your turnover rates, how often people are leaving you, your absenteeism rates, and also in any relationship, if you want to know if someone's unhappy, a very simple thing to do is just to ask people, have one-on-one discussions with your staff, and managers meeting with their teams and saying, I want you to be happy here and to grow. How are you feeling about the company? Do you feel like you're getting everything that you need to be effective? Just something as simple as that. It doesn't have to become too complicated. There is also you referenced some research that they can actually look at. So Kelly has a study called the Global Workforce Index. They just released their results in 2013 recently, and they've actually got some interesting stats on South African companies. They found, for example, that only 1 in 4 South African employees will recommend their employer to someone else. And they also found that around 46% of South African employees considered changing jobs in 2012. So about half the workforce thought there's someone out there who is actually going to treat me better than I'm being treated. It's a high number.
Now, the big question would be, it might not be the organization that treats you bad, but people that you work with, or your managers and executives. And actually, the organization itself has got nothing to do with the way that you feel.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the sad thing is that the organization takes the form of people, So you've got a brand that you work on, and you've obviously got, sort of organizational governance that people try to make sure is sending the right message. But at the end of the day, your boss can have a bad day, and it might not be organization, but that one interaction can actually cause quite a problem. And people leave managers, not companies, bad managers.
Mm-hmm. Now, Lucy, you are quoted in some of the reports that have come out that actually also our environment at home might contribute somewhat to us not being productive at work.
Yes, it's quite interesting. It's actually something called presenteeism. So it's different from absenteeism in the sense that you're still going to work, but you're not really there. And the main factor there is actually sleep disorders. So the number one reason that we actually lose time during our workday is that we're arriving at work, we haven't had a good night's sleep, we're groggy, we're tired, and we actually don't have the energy to do the hard stuff. We come in, we go straight to email and then sit for the next 4 hours doing the easy work instead of actually tackling those 5 big things on our to-do list. So I think it's actually really important to look at, for example, simple things like your sleeping environment. So before you go to bed, are you reading emails on your phone? Because all you need is one email about a big project to get your mind working the whole night. Something as simple also as the light from your cell phone. So your cell phone emits like a blue light. That actually tells your brain, wake up, it's the morning. So if you're lying in bed reading emails or on Facebook, your brain's getting messages to stay awake, not go to sleep.
So switching off is quite important if you want to be productive.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's a positive thing that we are able to access our work wherever we might be. So we are able to work, for example, in coffee shops or, maybe in an airport waiting for a plane, etc. But the bad thing is that work is everywhere all the time. And so if you are checking emails at the dinner table, on holiday, in bed before you go to bed, you're not actually getting a chance to recharge. And that's where creativity comes from, and innovation. A lot of innovative ideas, actually, entrepreneurs who started startups overseas, they happen on holiday.
Now, do you find that there is a lot of concern within employers about the problems of being unhappy at work?
Well, we definitely find certain employers who take it very seriously and who want to try and make, very positive environments for their staff. I actually think that the main pressure, and it's a global force, is to cut costs at the moment. I think we're still reeling from the international sort of recession a few years ago, and basically most CEOs are measured based on how cost effective that they can actually be and how tight a ship they can run. And so one of the first things that gets cut is actually your rental space. So let's get everyone into a smaller office space, smaller desks, and that starts to actually compound people issues.
The issue of employers or employees' health, well-being, shall we say, how important is that?
I think it's very important. If you focus too much on the numbers and you don't look at people, you're actually going to affect the numbers long term. And so basically, like in any relationship, if you send the message that you're important to me, I care about you, your health is important, your overall life is important to me, then I'm going to feel valued and I'm going to want to give back. So I think a lot of people are, they're saying, I owe, off to work I go. A lot of people are just at work paying off debts and not actually connecting. There's a very scary study in the US where they asked basically a sample whether they understood what their companies were trying to achieve and what was important to them. And only 37% knew what their companies were trying to achieve. The rest were just paying bills.
0891-104-207. You might be one of those people that are contemplating leaving your job and you want to know whether we would like to know what is it that has compelled you to take that decision and decide that, I'm not happy at work, or are there some things that we could learn from you that may help you to cope with your work situation. Lucy LaRue, marketing manager for office design firm Paragon Interiors, is in the studio, and we're also looking at a study which was done by AXA as to the impact that this is having on the economy of South Africa. 12 to about 16 billion rand lost due to people not being productive. It's 5 minutes to 9, and we'll be taking those calls. 0891-104-207 when we return.
Education is the key.
SAfm, South Africa's news and information leader. We're talking about absenteeism and also talking about conditions at work that contribute to that absenteeism. Lucy LaRue, marketing manager for office design firm Paragon Interiors. Now, we were talking off air about the culture in South Africa and whether that differs from any other country in the world. I don't know what research has shown, but the culture of physical presence, meaning that you are at work at the office compared to being at the office, mobility, shall we say.
Yeah, I think South Africa is actually, we are different to other countries in the world for sure. There's actually a very interesting study by Steelcase. They're an international furniture manufacturer, and they've looked at a few dynamics. For example, how open is the culture to people working from home? Not just your boss, but your colleagues. Another factor, for example, is how tolerant are you to occupancy density? So are you comfortable sitting in an office space with lots of people, or do you prefer lots of space around you? And those sort of things actually affect whether a country actually adopts more of a mobile working strategy. The interesting thing is a lot of our thinking behind workplace design comes from countries like, the Netherlands, Germany, the US, and Great Britain, and they are far more open to, work wherever you want. I don't have to see you as long as you bring results. Whereas I think we're more of a managerial culture. If I can see you, then you must be working.
Yeah, sure. Well, Lucy, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I think this is a subject that needs much more time, that we can go into other aspects, like yourself. How do you motivate yourself to be able to go and be productive? And also, when you get that paycheck, your conscience, what does it say if you're getting a paycheck without doing anything? But thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Lucy LaRue, marketing manager for office design firm Paragon Interiors. That brings to a close today's edition of the Talk Shop. And my thanks to the production team, Leseho Mangwanyane and President Mashaya. Karen Kiss, a very good evening to you. And we are going to look at the law report tonight.
Hello, Ike. Yes, thank you very much. Well, in this evening's law report,